Crop rotation is a key element to future-proofing any successful farming operation. And today, we're gonna talk about adding to that rotation something that can not only benefit your soils and your yields, but also, well, Mother Earth. So let's talk cover crops. Okay, we need to cut. I'm about to get sick. Woo! Oh man, I'm gonna actually get sick.
This growing season, join me as I meet and talk with expert growers, agronomists, researchers, and breeders looking for ways to get more performance from each and every soybean to help you chase down the next bushel.
Hey, John, how's it going?
Good, Clint. Glad to see you. Welcome back to the state of Nebraska.
How's the whole world been treating you?
Doing well. Family's doing well. They're in big preparation for Fair Week.
I think when I was pulling up, I seen a livestock trailer pulling out, so I figured they're shipping a calf off somewhere.
Yeah,
so.
there's a few going to the fair this week.
Nice. Tell you what, this spring you sent me a Snapchat of you rolling some rye. And I'd like to talk to you about some cover crops, which is why I'm stopping in here.
Sounds good. We can take a look a little bit later, but I think you promised me a little free labor on the planter last time we talked.
Son of a gun, I was hoping you wouldn't remember that, but all right, what are you gonna have me do this time?
We're just gonna finish up the planter and get it ready for next season.
All right, well, let's get at it then.
Sounds good.
All right, so it looks like we're replacing the disc openers here?
Yeah, we're replacing all ground tools and getting it ready for spring planting.
I guess I'll just hop in here and start putting this thing together.
I'll supervise. Let's see if you know what you're doing here.
You know, I've helped my old man on rebuilding a few of these. So, you know, speaking of that, what generation are you on this farm then?
Currently today, we're at 3 generations and potentially going on 4.
Okay.
But in the state of Nebraska, we'll be 6 generations.
6 generations.
Yep.
Now, as far as tillage practices and whatnot, you know, have you typically been no-till or?
In the early days, it was conventional tillage. About the time I came back from college, we went 100% no-till.
You know, I tell you that I know how to do this, and here I'm just sitting here fighting this thing, John, but I swear I can get this, so.
There's just a small piece of satisfaction you're having struggles.
So I figured, you know, be the comic relief here, you know, so. So how long have you been doing the cover crops then, John?
Oh, I think we're probably going on 5 or 6 years. Was intrigued and put some out there and liked what I saw, and we've just continued since then.
Yeah. How about you hand me that thing, though?
There you go.
Rather, this one makes it a lot easier. Is everything going to rye, or do you try to?
No, this last year we were probably about 1/3 of our acres into rye. That was going to soybeans. Out of that 1/3 of those acres that was rye, we rolled probably half of that.
Yep.
And the other half we left standing. And this summer I dabbled in some
pliers?
Some cocktail mix, trying to build some soil health and get some nitrogen for the upcoming corn crop.
Who do you primarily work with, John, on just getting some of that information on what the right mix is? And
a lot of it is networking. You can find a lot of stuff online. Some of my better resources have been a local company that sells the seed and also the University of Nebraska.
Yep.
And then following Twitter, there's a lot of people on Twitter that do this.
If you want to learn about something, post it out there because you're going to get opinions, right?
That's exactly right. The specific thing with cover crops is you have to network.
Yep.
One size doesn't fit all for every farmer, so you have to talk to everybody and see what things work for their farm and try and do those and make it work for you.
You mentioned that maybe another 4th generation then, so you're going to get your kids involved in the farming operation here?
I'm going to leave that up to them. I hope one of them decides to return. If they do, hopefully I've left the land in a better position for them.
Absolutely wonderful. So, well, before you make me put the rest of these darn things on, how about we get in the truck and head on out to the field?
I don't know if I should give in that easy, but I guess I guess I'll take you up on that and we'll go take a look.
All right, sounds good.
All right, let's go.
So John, you were talking about cover crops and some of the different practices that you do. So you talked about no-till and you talked about, you know, some of the rye that you put in. How do you make that decision as far as for what field's gonna get, you know, what practice at that point?
This particular field, we did the rye in order to put the contour terraces on the farm.
Looks like there's a bunch of different stuff coming up. What did you put back into this?
So the volunteer rye is from what came out of the back of the combine, so we didn't put that into the mix, but we do have a radish, a clover, a vetch, sunflower, and the turnips.
Now, are they all doing the same thing? Or?
Well, they're going for a lot of things to create soil diversity, to get the bugs to get excited and start doing different things within the soil. The rye will set down roots very deep and break up compaction. That's the same thing the sunflower will do, and also the radish and turnip. The clover and the vetch are in this. This will be corn next year. I'm hoping to capture some natural nitrogen from the atmosphere and put that back into the soil and maybe reduce some of the nitrogen cost for application next year when we plant the corn.
You know, when you talk about this cocktail mix, it sounds like you can be as simple as a whiskey in a diet or as complicated as an old-fashioned, right?
Right. That's exactly right. If you're starting out and want to start simple, rye is an easy one to do.
What about some of the stuff that maybe happens on top of the soil?
If you look at like Palmer amaranth, it's creating 1 million seeds. It wants 1 million seeds out there so it can cover the earth and keep it green. Green matter keeps the earth cool, right?
Yep.
So you put these out there that competes against those weeds, so they don't want to grow. You have a plant out there that you can control. You know, we're taking impurities out of the air and sticking that back down into the soil when you have that living root there 24/7, 365 days a year.
You know, you talked about the contours, which is behind you here. I would expect maybe erosion is a thing that you're fighting as well?
We're actually in the eastern part of the state, and so we have a few inches of black topsoil that goes to clay beyond that. And once you get below that, the soil can erode very quickly. And so we do have an erosion problem.
Have you seen a big difference going from no-till to cover crops in regards to just water control?
A few years ago, we had a really large, extensive rain, and the neighbor across the road had done a bunch of conventional tillage, and I had rye across the road. After that rain, all of his topsoil was across the road and into my field. And, you know, and where my rye was at, it just laid the rye over but didn't move any of the soil. So that was made me a real believer at that point.
Wow. We got this little temperature gauge, and I wanted to look. We got probably 100-degree heat index out here.
Right.
And I thought it'd be interesting to get the temperature of bare dirt and then the temperature underneath your mat. So if we hit that bare dirt right here, I got 113 degrees. And so now if I get this mat underneath here, I'm at 87 degrees. Talk about conserving that water and stopping the evaporation. I mean, that's a huge delta right there.
Underneath that, that's where the seeds came up first. This was planted about 2 weeks ago, and where that stayed cooler under there and that moisture was held, it popped right out of the ground. Where you saw some of the bare spots in the field, those plants are a little slower to come because that dried out just that much quicker. The soil's staying that much cooler, it's holding that much more water in. That plant has the potential for a greater soybean yield.
We may have just found the next bushel right there.
There it is.
There it is.
All right, good deal.
If you were giving advice to a farmer that's just getting into cover crops or thinking about getting into cover crops, what's a couple key pieces of advice that you'd give that farmer?
I would start slow. Take a small parcel and start. See what works on your farm. Do your research. Read up on it a little bit. Also network with some guys that have done it. But it is fun to do, and I think it's the right thing to do.
Well, I tell you what, you got some family out of the county fair, right?
We do. They're preparing for a cattle show this evening and later this week.
Well, I think that you and I ought to head to the county fair and maybe a little friendly wager on a couple carnival games.
Challenge accepted.
All right, well, let's get on over there.
Sounds good.
So here we are at the, Cass County Fair, right?
Correct.
How about if you win, I will try to convince Dad to do cover crops on the farm.
Fair enough.
All right,
Fair enough.
all right. And if I win, I don't have to help you rebuild any more planters.
It's a tough sell, but I guess we'll go with it. So,
all right, well, after you, man.
make me go first.
First time, eh?
All right.
Oh, we're at 1-1. No, this is it. Oh,
champion.
All right. Well, look at that.
You gotta go. This is for you, my friend.
You're the one that won.
I gotta go take care of the family.
Oh, you're gonna make me carry this thing, all right?
Thanks for coming to Nebraska.
Hey,
see you later.
Good seeing you, John.
Good seeing you, Clint.
Have a good one.
You too.
Well, hey, next stop, we're gonna go down and talk to Stephen Johnson, the technical agronomist down in southeast Nebraska, and he's gonna take us through all the different aspects of cover crops. So come on down. Where's Steve at here? Hey, Steve!
Yeah, over here.
Oh, I'll be right there.
Okay.
Oh, these beans are so tall.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Taking me a little time, but I'm almost here.
I got you timed. You know, the Olympics are over now, so. All right.
Steve, good to meet you. Clint Chaffer.
Nice to meet you, Clint. So thanks for joining me in the field here.
Yeah,
So-
no, thanks for having me out here. So what are we looking at?
Well, soybeans, first of all. But,
Well, thank you.
but to be honest with you, what I'm really doing is trying to scout and see how these soybeans are doing following a rye cover crop.
Okay.
And currently, it's about, 100-degree heat index right
Yeah.
now. Fortunately, we got a good shot of rain, I think about 3 or 4 days ago now.
Okay.
So I really wanted to see how did the water infiltrate and handle some of these challenging conditions that really southeast Nebraska poses.
When you talk about cover crops, what's a base level of what we're talking about?
Yeah, so cover crops is really just thinking about trying to make sure you're maintaining some sort of growing crop. There's a lot of different ways people go about doing it. Some utilize the rye like this, or some actually utilize products like turnips, radishes, clovers.
There's a lot of benefits then that come into planting into a cover crop then.
What this particular grower is looking for in this circumstance, he was trying to really maintain a little buildup of organic matter, helping himself out from an erosion perspective, and just really some conservation of moisture. There's only one way to see how water actually infiltrated in the soil, and that's by actually digging and getting into there. So I was just going to maybe have you stick that in the ground and see if you, how you do.
Put my weight behind this then,
Yeah.
right? Where's the, I
Don't
thought
break-
that
don't-
there's not a step.
No, there's no
Need a
step on this
that.
one.
All right.
So Nebraskans are a little tougher, you know. So give it a little quarter turn.
Quarter turn.
Yep.
Now pull up.
Use your legs, not your back.
There we go.
There you go.
All right, so oh wow.
So again, I mentioned that we got a pretty good shot of rain here.
Yep.
It was close to 2-3 inches, and it all came within a half an hour's time frame. The ability for the water to percolate and get through the pores is so much better following a system like this. But this is amazing. Let me just show you. We're looking at darn near
Wow.
95% soil moisture,
Oh yeah.
you know, there, and that's going to carry us along for quite a while.
There's work that goes into this, right? I mean, you're really planting almost another crop. Are more guys going to start moving towards this kind of a process?
As we look at inputs in general, they keep going up. And if we can maybe help that out in a natural way, having a crop year round is kind of the way Mother Nature made it. Some guys are actually starting to be able to suppress at least one chemical application because they're utilizing cover crops. Some cover crops actually are nematicides naturally.
You know, Steve, you hit on two things that we've covered in previous episodes. We were down in the Boot Heel of Missouri talking about weed control on episode 1. We were up in Minnesota talking about pest and disease. This sounds like a pretty cool natural remedy here. So
There's options here. I was thinking about it from a nitrogen perspective. To really achieve the ultimate yields that some of these guys are looking for, beans can't produce enough. So, you know, now you're starting to see the nice decomposition. You really don't even see any root fibers here. Well, that's actually organic matter that's fueling the soil. And now that the microbes are helping break this down, those nutrients now become available to the plant. So it's just part of the equation, I guess.
there's almost that natural progression there, right? You can go from a tilled field to a no-tilled field to putting these cover crops on. So let's figure out if we may find some worm activity.
Yeah, I think that's pretty important. We'll just hit this spot right here. See, one thing I noticed right there, when I put that spade in the ground, I got almost halfway down.
I noticed that even when you had me pull that core, it went in incredibly easy.
It's pretty impressive. Well, I didn't do the greatest job, but look,
you talking about worms.
It didn't take long to find them. We got all kinds of activity.
All sorts of activity here. And look at those nodules too. You talked about the nitrogen piece.
Absolutely. Look, see some of these holes right here. This is something I really like to see. As you look through here, you can kind of see maybe they're the rye roots or maybe last year's corn roots.
Does that give way for the soybean roots to go down that path then?
Bingo, it does.
Wow.
And that's why I think we're seeing such great nodulation and root fibers out long ways laterally from the soybean plant. You know, really what the cover crops are doing is they're protecting the soil. which is protecting the roots and ultimately is protecting the yield.
You know, you talked about having some of these cores that maybe you pulled in different fields. So let's head on back to the truck. I am not looking forward to this walk back, though.
I'll lead the way, and please stay on 2 feet.
All right, I'll try to. So.
All right.
It's easier walking out than walking in. So
Well, you're following me.
yeah, there you
That's
go.
why. So this is what I wanted to show you. These are from a couple different field circumstances that I did just before we got here.
Okay.
All of this residue and this mat was part of this root system. Just like I showed you out in the field. Go ahead and fill that.
Oh yeah.
So ball that up.
mean,
There's
that's
a lot of moisture. Now this is the bare soil.
So this is no-till.
This is still no-till.
Okay.
And that's the top 6 inches.
You can feel that already.
It just crumbles, doesn't it?
Yeah. There's still moisture, right? But it's definitely crumbly. Do I have to adjust my populations? Do I have to adjust my varieties? Just the genetics that I'm looking at putting on to different fields.
Yeah, you're thinking down the right path. Right in this neck of the woods, a lot of mid-group 3s work really, really well. But this particular grower has actually gone a little bit earlier RM, so he can harvest them earlier and put his cover crop on.
The neat part about this, Steve, is it sounds like this is also just being better stewards of the land. There's better water utilization. There's better access and maybe utilization of fertilizer. And it's stopping erosion if you have, maybe some highly erodible fields or have some elevation. That just seems like a lot of benefits here.
When we talk to growers, leaving better field for the next generation, you kind of want to take care of your land.
That's a great thing to end on here, Steve. I've had the pleasure of talking to several farmers and folks in agriculture throughout this series, and I think this is just a great step in that direction.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%.
All right, well, you need help cleaning this thing up?
You know what? I'd take you up on that a little bit.
All right, I'll grab this.
Let me show you how it's done here. Oh yeah, cleanup's easy here in the field.
There we go. Fair enough. Thanks again.
Take care.
Have a good one. What was once old isn't just new, it's being reinvented, tested, researched, tweaked, all for modern agriculture. And today, we've only just scratched the surface on all things cover crops. But join me next time as I head back home to Illinois and I talk to my old man about how he's utilized technology, all to help him chase down the next bushel. I'm coming home, Mom.